Welcome, Ultimate fans. So glad you could be here again for another edition of the AUDL Take. You're like me, you're excited for another Ultimate season to get started. Before we jump into the latest AUDL news, I want to celebrate the college season. It's just started, now underway. If you've got an alma mater or a team that you're really interested in following, check out Ultiworld. They have the top 25 power rankings, both for the men's division and the women's division. So make sure to check that out and get yourself all caught up on what's going on in the college game. The first topic we're going to discuss today is all the latest player signings and maybe a couple of the ones that I've missed earlier here in this offseason. We're going to start with the Minnesota Wind Chill. The big name is Mark Lloyd. So far, it looks like he's going to probably play just one game this year, but that one game will be a tremendous event. I believe it's in Winnipeg this year. A tremendous player that has been in the league and has played so well for Toronto. He wants to really have himself ready for the Worlds coming up, but still wants to have his mark here in the AUDL. And I think Minnesota is just very, very lucky to have him. As a big player signing this year, yes, it's a big name. Yes, it's going to be an incredible game to start off the year. Is he going to change this whole team? No. I think he's going to just play one game. There might be that time where they need a win to get in the playoffs and he might show up, but I don't think Minnesota is really building anything around him. It's just a great signing, and it's already kind of adding to this roster that Minnesota is building. They were just outside the playoffs last year, and I think these few signings that they're getting is kind of building up that momentum, getting them excited. Having Mark Lloyd for that opener will just jazz that team up and spark this season off in the right way for them. Another big signing for Minnesota is Matt Rader, and I think that's the biggest one for them so far this offseason. Coming from Chicago, now here, he is a dynamic player. I mean, look what he did in Chicago, immediately became one of their number one players. To add on that, you've got Quinn Snyder, who had an incredible year last year. Put both of them on the field, they're going to really be igniting this offense, a much more dominant threat in that division, especially now with less teams. Having these kind of weapons like Rader and Snyder are going to really put them up on the top of the list of this division. Really excited to see this team make it. They're a team that I think's always been right on the cusp. Most of the people in the league would really like to see them make it to AUDL Championship weekend. A little side note of this story, which is really kind of a funny story. Josh Klein, Kevin Brown had quite the deal over this past season. If one would go play for Sub-Zero, then maybe Josh Klein would go over and play for Madison. Well, it looks like one person kept their end of the bargain, but Josh Klein decided to stay with Minnesota Wind Chill, and I'm just going to say that's cold. Sub-Zero cold. Moving out to the west, we have the San Diego Growlers, and there's a lot of signings to really look up here. You got Travis Dunn, who has just really been a great player there that's developed. I think now he's entering his 6th season. He's become just a workhorse for that offense and has made incredible plays, stands out. Now you've got Goose coming back, Goose Helton, 00. Anytime you put him on any team, he's going to be a useful player for you. Michael Tran, now one of the captains for that team. He's an explosive player who's going to be making some waves. Adding the big signing of Khalif El-Salam, that's going to be an incredible weaponized offense that you have going in San Diego. They had an incredible run last year, and now adding these players and bringing some of the same ones back, they look to be a team who could get some good, serious competition out of Dallas. We're going to be talking a lot more about the West here in our next segment. I want to spend just a little bit more time talking about Khalif El-Salam, what he did in Seattle and what he continues to do in that community. He's one of those players that goes beyond just what he does on the field. So him coming to San Diego, I'm curious how they're going to actually fit him into that offense. Is he going to be just the one making great cuts and just getting scores? Is he going to be more a facilitator, moving the disc? I really see him coming in as just being a scoring threat. But once again, just adding to that team, which they need someone like him, I think, to genuinely compete well against Dallas. Khalif making the move now to San Diego and really making that team a step above a lot of what they've been in the past. And now for our main topic of the day, part of a 4-episode series where I'm going to go through each division, predict who the top 2 teams are going to move on and go to playoff weekends. This first segment is going to start with the West. We have Austin and Dallas coming in there. Continue to have LA, San Jose, San Diego, and Seattle. But let's start with the bottom, where I think the last place is most likely going to be, and that I think is going to be a battle between Seattle and San Jose. We haven't really heard a lot of signings coming out of San Jose, at least I haven't. If they still have a lot of the same talent, I see them performing better than they did this past season. But with Seattle, they've now lost Khalif, and they've never really been a super threat ever since 2016 when they lost in the finals to Dallas. So I just don't see any big names coming in there yet. If I had to put anyone on the bottom, I would probably say Seattle. Then San Jose is right there. If they don't really start to gel well, they could have a repeat of what they did last season. LA and Austin, they're the next 2 on my list. It's really going to be them 2 battling it out a lot. I think LA and Austin are both on the same kind of level. LA has a little bit more of a flair to them. Austin's just a very grind out team. They stick with you. If they can keep it close, they can sneak away with a few wins. Losing Kyle Hankey, that's going to be a big one. And if they can stay healthy, they'll be more of a threat. But I'm curious to see this amount of travel they're going to have to do this year, how that truly affects them. LA, to play better better at home when Austin and Dallas come in. When they travel there, they'll probably have to do a lot of double headers, so we'll see how that affects their season. I'm going to put LA above Austin this year. I don't think it's going to always be that way, but I just think LA's got a lot more people they've been playing with a longer time. They've gotten used to their division and how to play against these other teams. As far as Austin, they're going to have to get used to playing people like Seattle and San Diego. And that pretty much leaves us with the top two teams, I think, that are going to be making that run for the playoff and for championship weekend, and that is San Diego Growlers and the Dallas Roughnecks. Both these teams have just had incredible runs. San Diego, when they first came into the scene, they had some top-notch players, but were unable to kind of make that jump into the playoffs. Last year was their first ever getting to championship weekend, and they did that with a lot of the same players they have now re-signing, and they're only adding more people now that Dallas is coming in, and they're going to probably try to run this division over. If I had to make a guess right now, I think the safe bet is to say Dallas is going to win the division. They're going to be championships of the regular season in the West. If you look at San Diego, they'll be right there. It could be close. There might be some injuries and things that might change. Dallas is probably going to come away with that number one seed. San Diego right underneath them. Dallas definitely as a playoff team are just way more intense than they are during the regular season. They know if they have to really turn it on and when the games really matter, they play on a whole other level. I think San Diego, luckily, having that chance to play them throughout the season will get themselves more prepared, and I think them two are going to put on a quality playoff game. In the end, Dallas is going to be the one that advances. Those guys are incredible players, especially Dalton Smith, who's just the quarterback of that offense, along with Abe Coffin. That is just going to be a tough team to beat. Dallas has been so close over the last few years of winning a championship. They haven't won one since 2016, but they've been in the championship game 3 times out of the last 4 years. I think they're hungry. Dallas has been so close for so many years. I do think they're going to have a slightly easier time getting through some of those teams, but I think LA and San Diego are going to put up quality matches, and I think there's going to be teams that may upset Dallas during the regular season, but come playoff time, they're going to light it up. Just a quick recap then where we put everybody. We got Dallas number 1, San Diego coming in right behind. Then we have LA and Austin, and then rounding it all out, we have the San Jose Spiders and the Seattle Cascades. Going to be highly competitive and interested to see how Dallas and Austin really fit in. Other teams will improve themselves as they play a team that is such a championship caliber quality of the Dallas Roughnecks. Some other quick news stories before we wrap up this episode. I want to talk about the AUDL launching their diversity initiative, and they're become a platinum sponsor for the games that just happened this weekend, the Color of Ultimate out in LA. I think this is a really smart thing to do. We really need to expose the sport to so many different demographics and socioeconomic levels. I'm proud to see the AUDL kind of take the step forward, becoming a sponsor of something that I've also been a part of here at the Atlanta Flying Disc Club. They're kind of the pioneers of this Color of Ultimate experience spreading throughout the country and the world. Lucky enough to do that in Atlanta. I was a camera operator for that game. Excited to see Matt Smith a part of that as well, another Atlanta guy, helping expand the sport to so many people who really just aren't exposed to it and maybe are in a certain situation that they never have the opportunity to play the sport. It's just something to show the great sport of Ultimate. Talking to a few of my friends, I thought it'd be interesting to see something like the PUL and the AUDL do a showcase game where it's a mixed event, show off both leagues and show that everybody has their different version of the sport. Some want to use refs, some want to have observers. Showing that we all can work together is something that I think goes a long way for our fans and as our community as a whole. There's just so much out there for us to look at, and I'm really excited to be a part of it, especially here on the show and delivering you guys all this information and just a new take on what's going on in the AUDL and in Ultimate as a whole. Make sure you guys hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It really means a lot to me. It helps me expand on what I can do with the show. It really is great to see so much support coming from you out there. You really are getting us one step closer to bringing you an even better show each week. Thanks again for tuning in to the AUDL Take. We'll see you next week.